All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Nature Journaling Best Practices Workshop. I'm Roseanne Hanson, and joining me here or there is Grace Howard, my assistant at Exploring Overland Field Arts Institute. And Grace will be your technical host and helping run the breakout rooms, which is new to us today. And so Grace, you want to say just a few words about how people can ask questions and things like that?
Yeah, so I'll be here to answer technical questions and help you figure out stuff. We're using features of the breakout rooms that I've never used before, but I've used breakout rooms quite a bit for my college classes. But if you have any questions, feel free to message me in chat, and I can help you figure out those problems. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Grace. Now, we are recording, and the breakout rooms, sadly, though, do not record individually. So we will be kind of synopsizing a little bit when we come in and out of the breakout rooms. So people who want to watch after will get a little bit of that. So, all right. Well, how we're going to work today is I'm going to give a short, just kind of little talk. I want to recap the questionnaire. So many of you filled it out. Thank you so much. So we got a great sample size. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to have 3 breakout rooms, and I'll tell you what the themes are for each. And I'll introduce you to Heather and Janet, who will be helping me with the breakout rooms to sort of host them and get you guys ready to interact, but be prepared to be in the breakout room with maybe, I think it'll probably end up being about 20 to 30 people per breakout room, and talk to each other and share things and share your successes or frustrations based on the theme. You'll do that for 10 minutes, and then you'll come back to the main, and then you'll swap out and go to another breakout room. That's the theory. Hopefully that will work. So we're new to the breakout room. So thank you for bearing with us on that. So Grace is going to keep an eye on the chat, and go ahead and just interrupt me verbally, Grace, if there's something in the chat that is pertinent to what I'm talking about. This is a pretty informal session, but I'm going to start right out with sharing, what I learned in the questionnaire, and some tips and things too. So Grace, is that showing the beginning of the slideshow?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, as I said, welcome everyone, and thank you for signing up. And by the amount of people signed up, I can tell that this is a really important topic, and we should probably do these check-ins fairly frequently, maybe quarterly throughout the year, to help us out figuring out how to do better with what we do and celebrate what we do. Those of you who are new to my workshops, I'm Roseanne Hanson. I'm the Art and Science Program Coordinator at the University of Arizona's Desert Laboratory on Tumamoc Hill, and my own business, the Exploring Overland's Field Arts Institute, because I've been a nature journaler for only 36, 38, almost 40 years. As part of my practice as a naturalist, I'm a writer. My husband and I publish natural history books, and my nature journals are a way for me to record what's going on around me. And I use a lot of my data and information in the books we publish. We also publish, adventure travel books as well. So journaling is just all a part of that. And so I don't ever lose sight of how I started and what the struggles are. So I'm always paying attention to that. And I love to help people learn and expand their own practices. So that's what this is going to be all about, is looking at what we know these struggles are. Because of course, you want to get started, but then sometimes it's just ridiculously hard. And we'll talk about some of those things. And today's goal is to solve some of those issues. So the sharing with you some of the features, excuse me, the results of the poll that I did. The questionnaire was interesting. I'm not going to go through every single question, but taking a look at let's say how good we feel we are at regular journal entries, meaning regular, you do it at least a couple times, maybe more a week, which I'll talk about. Doing it regularly is really one of the best ways to get going. What have we got? Oh, if everyone can please mute. I think somebody was saying something. Everybody, please make sure you're muted. Grace, if you can go through and help mute people, that would be great. Okay, so looking at where people feel like they are with regular journal entries, you can see the majority, 50%, said they're in the poor area, like really not good at regular journal entries. 19% said good, pretty good, like medium, and 31% said they do pretty darn well. So that's really good. You can see though the majority of us are still kind of in the not so great poor to good area. So you're not alone. And a lot of us feel like, yeah, this is hard. I'm struggling. 67% say, yeah, journaling is making me crazy. And I think this was also important to look at. 54% of us say we fail at not judging our work. We say, yeah, I judge my work. 54% of us are like, yeah, I judge too much. And I'm totally in that camp much of the time. And I do struggle with that. Perfectionism is something most of us probably deal with. And we'll talk about ways to get over that as well. And although this doesn't sound like an important one, I share my work with peers, whether it's on a social media platform or in a group in live. Sharing your work is actually really, really important. It gets you out of your own little world and helps you improve, because you do get feedback, positive feedback. I mean, have you ever shared anyone and had someone go, that is really horrible? Probably not. I hope not. And it's really, really good for reinforcing your behavior, right? You want this to become a habit. So sharing your work really is a good idea. And another thing that worked amazingly for me, and it was really hard, was actually journaling in public where there are other people around, where they come up and look over your shoulder, for example, at a zoo, or in my case, the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. I made myself go out there, when I was just starting to do a lot more sketching, and people actually, they treat you like you're one of the displays, and they'll come right up to you and look over your shoulder, and they'll, so that's another way to share your work, right? And always they go, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. You're so good. And of course I'm going to my mind, oh no, this is horrible. But that got me over and through. So that's why I put this one in there. Once I got over that, and you do it enough and you'll get over it without telling them it's awful. It's great for your practice. Oops. All right, let's look at some of the things people said I pulled out for great successes, because these are really important. I loved this one, the first one. Finding out that consistency accidentally causes improvement in my work. Yay! The best quote ever. If you write anything down from this, finding out that consistency accidentally causes improvement in my work. I love it. Okay. Getting into the zone, that space where you're like dropping into being fully attentive to nature journaling. Yes, I love that. It's amazing. And sharing the excitement of nature in the outdoors. Learning about nature and expressing your love for nature in a new way. That's a lovely, I think we all have that one. Here's another one I loved, and we're going to talk about this one too. Recently learning that it's okay for my journal to be words and not mostly sketches. Writing is easy for me. It just flows out of my pen. And then the downside is that I've been taking the easy way out and writing more, sketching less. Okay, I'm going to address that as well. And we want to talk about that in the breakouts. There is absolutely no rule that says you have to sketch in your nature journal. You can describe everything with words or counting numbers. You can do just as much with just words. So do not think that you have to sketch. Yes, sketching actually will improve so much of your memory and knowledge, but you can do a lot with words. So we're going to talk about that too. It's meditation. Yes, it is. And that's really good for you. The feeling of accomplishment when you do your pages and finish one, yes, that is so great. And then I always feel better when, and that's really important. It makes you feel better when you do it. So we want to grab onto these successes and remember those. Okay, let's look at some common struggles. Really a lot of similar things. I often feel overwhelmed by finding so many things to document that I'll end up doing nothing. Oh my gosh, I remember that so much when I start out, or say I'm someplace super cool where there's like so many animals, maybe in a birding hotspot, or on the coast where there's so much going on. You can just go, what do I focus on? Those are, we're gonna talk about some tips for that. There's some real easy, not easy, but simple ways to help overcome that. So making time to go outside. Most of my journaling has been done from books, online and virtually. I think that's fine, and not. I think one of the themes I want to write this down right now. Give yourself permission to do whatever works for you. Don't be hard on yourself. Being hard on ourselves is really something that humans do, and we're conditioned to do it from a very young age, most of us, in our society particularly. And so don't think that doing it from books and online is bad. We do, going outside is nature journaling, and that's great. But if you're stuck inside, you're homeschooling, your kids are driving you crazy, you can't get away, by all means, do whatever works. So the flip side of that is the next person said, most of my experiences in nature are with my husband and son, and they enjoy doing it, going hiking, but asking questions about what we see. They rarely want to stop during a hike to document it. So that's a common thing when you're out with someone who isn't nature journaling and they want to keep going and you want to stop. So in our breakout sessions, we should talk about that as well in our time management one, how we can fix that or do something a little creative with that. Another person said, drawing from memory, this is a struggle. Not being able to draw from memory. That's really honestly just practice. Using my camera too much when I want to be observing it instead. And yes, that cameras can be crutches instead of just tools to help us. Not including writing, putting other things first before journaling, not adding color notes. And then this was just really cute, made me crack up. Sorry, that's a bit more than two, little embarrassed faced. So, but those are all really common themes and all things that I think we can get through, and definitely things I remember struggling with for sure, especially putting other things first before journaling. So in our time management breakout, we're going to talk about that too. And I'll talk about it in a few minutes as well. Never knowing what to write, that's kind of like the feeling overwhelmed. And this was an interesting one. And I think it goes back to this next one. My brain won't allow mixed items on the page. Bird, flower, fungi, for example. I have to do a page for each, and then I'm stuck as I don't know what else to draw. The page is empty. So that one we could address simply by saying, that's fine. Do one thing per page and then write notes. Fill in that blank space with notes. Don't forget, notes are a really important part of nature journaling. It isn't just about the picture if you are drawing. And make it a page per thing. There's no rules. So giving yourself permission, that's going to be a theme. Give yourself permission. Feeling overwhelmed, not knowing what to focus on, I'm actually going to come over here and show a couple of journal page ideas for getting over the overwhelmed part, because I feel like that's a huge theme. The idea of how to get, when you're out journaling with people who are not journaling. I have a couple of things I do, which I will show in when I come to my document camera, that can help you with that. You've got to adapt and give yourself permission to adapt. All right, let's recap a couple things. Remember that successes, the things that make us go, woo, release dopamine and reinforce our behavior, and that makes habits. So we want to make journaling something we do frequently. So we want to reinforce that good habits, the good things, the successes. And every time you stretch your skills. So if you write more when you don't really like writing, or you sketch more when you're afraid of it, or you ask more questions, your brain literally grows. The neuro pathways actually increase, literally, and you get smarter. So pushing yourself really does work. So the only way to do that, though, is regular practice, meaning doing it frequently, once, twice, 3 times a week, ideally, right? Every day would be amazing. And it's the only way you're going to get that dopamine and grow your brain and solidify that habit. And one of the ways I make journaling a habit is I make the time, even if it's 10 minutes. And I'll show you a page that took me less than 10 minutes. I try to do it every day. I try to make it 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock comes around. I make it my little nature journaling happy hour, might even get a glass of wine. And even if it's just to do my weather and write down the sun is shining, that is regular practice. And then when you have time to do more pages, more sketching, whoa, that's awesome too. But again, let's go back to give yourself permission to do it not exactly the way you think it should be done all the time. Make it a regular habit. Skip that television program. Replace a television program or Netflix or whatever with nature journaling instead. You can do that. That is one of the ways I carved out more time in my life, is we haven't watched TV in 20 years, and Netflix, we haven't done streaming or anything online in, I don't know, 3 years now. That's one of the ways I carve out more time for my nature journaling. You do sometimes have to excise something to add something. So don't forget that. Okay, what we're going to do now, it's going to stop the share, and I'm going to hop over to my document camera and show a few things that I think are very helpful. Grace, is there anything in the chat that we want to address right now while I'm doing this?
No.
Okay, great. Come on, focus. It doesn't want to focus. Thank you. All right. What I want to show is, so a couple of things I want to talk about real quick. And then I want to make sure, kind of going a little longer than I promised I would, but I think these are important. So we judge ourselves a lot And I think for women especially, we've been conditioned for a really long time with like women's magazines that make us mute. Can we find out who's not muted, Grace, please? We're taught we have to look a certain way, we have to wear things a certain way, our boobs have to be a certain way, whatever. Sorry guys. I'm sure men have the same similar pressures you get in magazines or media or whatever, and we're always judging ourselves, and we transfer that to what we do in our journals, or we go on the Nature Journal Club on Facebook and we see all these amazing pages, right? And we judge ourselves based on those. So let's talk about, first of all, it's okay to just do writing. This took me, I want to say like less than 10 minutes, 5 minutes, just yesterday. I just had to take a few minutes, went outside, noted the weather. I dropped into my little nature journaling zone for just 10 minutes, and that was enough to just really, I relaxed. I didn't pressure myself to draw. I didn't do anything but my metadata, which is that trigger to go into your zone. And then noted some cool things, western bluebirds and cedar waxwing. A big flock came in, which was really fun. Didn't pressure myself to draw the little guys, right? That would have been another 20, 30 minutes at minimum, right? Didn't have that much time yesterday. So that is okay, and a wonderful way to do it. If you're just doing drawing, then use words in a way that really describe things. That's another way to do it. I think I'm going to show one quick thing, because I'm aware that in the breakout rooms, they aren't going to be recorded. And I wanted to show just a couple of things for the people who are struggling with where to start. This blank page fear thing is one thing I do almost invariably when I know I'm out somewhere. Here's an example from a workshop I did, but this is exactly how I did it. After I wrote my metadata, I actually drew these squares first. And that forced me into a type of layout, knowing, okay, I went ahead and started writing, and then I just left this blank and came over here and filled this in. And then I filled these in. And that way it immediately gets me down to only 3 things I might be looking at. Maybe a landscape icto here. And then I just sort of looked around, well, what are 2 interesting things happening? I really liked this ice drip, and I really liked the animal tracks. So that's one quick tip for getting over that. How do I do this? I've got way too much going on. That is one quick way that works really well. The other thing is to just start writing lists, which is what I did here. I wasn't actually going to draw anything, but just start writing lists. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you smelling? What's going on? Just list. And that's no pressure. And then at the end, I was like, oh, that's cute. I just took like literally a 5-minute sketch here to do the little bird in the saguaro. So those are really just quick things. I want to go into our breakout rooms now, and then we can come back at the end and talk about more of these specific things, so that the people who will be looking at this recorded will get to hear that as well. One thing I did want to mention as another tip, just because I've got my camera up here. Where are these? So I use, for those of you who are like, I'm with people who aren't nature journaling, I'm not going to take my full nature journal. You can take a little notebook like these field notes, or this is Moleskine. Let me see if the brand, it's funny, Moleskine doesn't rate their brand on it. These are just little notebooks. And I'm going to see if I can find an example of journaling real quick here. No, these are all just, these are notes, but I use them to catalog what I'm seeing or doing. And I'll look for some examples to show you in the breakout or later. But the reason I have those is because I can stand and write something and do it like a super fast sketch and just note everything that I'm seeing really fast because it's right in a pocket. And then later I'll put it into my main notebook. So that's one way you can get over that if you're going out with people who aren't journaling. All right, I want plenty of time for breakouts. So I'm going to stop this. And now I'm going to go ahead. Here's how we're going to do the breakout room. Share a strategy that you use if you're finding you can find time to nature journal. How do you do that? What's your one thing that you do? Joyce, go ahead and unmute. Go ahead and unmute everybody. And you're muted, Joyce. So there we go.
Sorry, Roseanne. I think it's a brilliant idea to have your bag at the door. That's a really good one. Jack always says that. Yeah.
Have your kit ready to go. All right. Yeah. How about that's a great one. Making time, giving yourself permission to maybe only do it for 10 minutes. But if you make that consistent, then that 10 minutes might start eking more into 15 or 30. So what else do people use for time management?
Roseanne, this is Connie. I was thinking about it, and there are probably 3 things that helped me along my journey. And I didn't start out in nature journaling. I just started out kind of journaling and then went into urban sketching journaling and then nature. So in the very beginning, I was told if I were to do something every day for 75 days, this comes from Brenda Swinson, that you would develop a habit of drawing something. And mine wasn't going out and naturing, but it did begin to build the habit. And I kind of collected themes like my mother was ill and I knew she wouldn't survive. So I started making journal things that related to her flowers or her hats or her whatever. So it got me into an item. Don't start so big. If you're having trouble getting started, start with a more focused object. And then you can build out to the bigger pictures and the bigger, more information. Yeah. And the second part is I kind of did that internal, which you mentioned, that internal I posted somewhere. I picked one site online, which happened to be Artist Sketchbook Journaling at the time. And I posted every day, but that was my commitment to myself. If I didn't do it, I didn't feel like I had done what I was supposed to be doing that day. And it helped me with a commitment to doing it. So start small, item, every day, post every day, because that's kind of a communication with other people. That's your group support.
That's true. And, do post. Yep. And if you're afraid to post on the big, 18,000 person Nature Journal Club because there's all these like amazing things. I started a little group where I am really mean about like, if you're not a beginner, you can't join. Because I want people to feel like they can post those little stick figures and say, I'm really happy with this. That there's no like feeling or you can ask questions or whatever. So ask me about that if you want to join that. Connie, that was great. And I did a little thing here. Connie suggested like keeping it simple. So you could like maybe take 2 pages.
Yep.
Here are, this one isn't showing, but these are seven squares. And just do one thing each day.
Box.
Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you're not like, oh my God, I have to do so much. Just put one little thing, a leaf. if you don't want to draw, don't draw. Write something, but describe it really, really well. Stretch yourself. That's another way to do that. So what that's called is you're overcoming the time management fear thing of like, oh, I don't have time to journal, by narrowing it down and giving yourself a boundary box.
Brilliant.
Right?
Brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Roseanne, the other thing is you can also get trapped in, it's got to be nature. It's got to be nature. And in my practice, I don't do nature every day. I probably have 6 different specialty categories so that I feel like I can escape out of nature one day if I feel like it's just not working for me. And then I'll go back and I'll probably do 3 or 4 in nature. So create a
no
mobile,
rules. Yeah.
right. Not a rule of got to get out there and see a nature item.
Right. So that's going back to the permissions. Give yourself permission to do it whatever way that works for you. Nature journaling. I made a decision to not include other things in my nature journals, but I'm a professional naturalist. I do this for a living. I write books about natural history. So for me, it was just a no-brainer. So I don't put a lot of personal stuff in, but loads of people do. So make it whatever works for you. I think we should.
I jump journals.
Off a little bit.
I
Go
jump
ahead,
journals,
Connie.
Roseanne.
Pardon?
I jump journals. So it's not
you jump
necessary. I do
journals.
have a nature. I jump journals. I have like
I like
5 of
that.
them up here.
I'm going to write
Yeah,
that down.
and so
Journal
I
jump.
know that's not everybody's thing, but yeah.
There's no rules. So I think the questionnaires told me that people think there are rules, and there aren't rules. I might show you what works for me, but finding what works for you is really, really important, and giving yourself permission to make that your success. So that's a huge thing. So I think we should swap back and forth now, if you don't mind. I know those of you who can't, so Grace is going to help you guys. Raise your hand or use the raise hand button down at the bottom, and Grace will put you in another room. Can you do that, Grace? Those of you who want to move. And then Grace, we're going to have to go. I'm going to also ask you to go. Oh, I'm going to broadcast a message to all to change rooms. So hopefully you're getting everybody got a message to swap rooms. I apologize, this isn't working the way we intended, and I have no idea why I
Okay.
can't.
So, what I'll need you all to do is I need you to say your name and where you want to be moved to.
Hi, this is Arlie. You could move me to room 3.
Arlie.
This is Joyce. Could I go to room 3, please?
Yes.
And this is Phyllis. Can I go to room 3?
Amy, go to room 3.
Wait till Grace says okay for the next person. Before you say something, wait till she says okay. Because she has to find you.
Yeah. Joyce is not on the list, so.
Oh, Joyce,
not
what's
entirely
your
sure how
screen?
to.
Joyce, what's your screen? Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm coming in from Ireland.
okay, let's see. I'll see if
Ireland.
I can find Joyce.
Doesn't matter, I can go anywhere.
Grace, why don't you take someone else? I'll look for Joyce.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we supposed to go to another breakout room now?
Yes.
Yes, if you can do that, Linda, please do. The folks who are coming back into this main group, this is time management because I can't join my breakout. So sorry.
Then
So I'm going to be
somebody
doing
put,
time management again with a new group right here. So hopefully if you guys, I'm seeing new,
somebody can put me in that group,
in which group?
in the time management.
That's,
You're
that's,
there.
you're here. This is time.
Okay, I don't have to do anything more.
What are the other two rooms?
The
So
other
we
two,
have,
go ahead, Grace.
there's time management, there's overcoming paralysis by analysis, and there's get sketching quickly.
Time
can go-
management is here.
I can go into the overcoming paralysis room.
I think there are people waiting in the time management.
I
room.
just sent a message out. Grace is going to pop over there in a minute and
Yeah.
help them. This is so
Valerie
silly.
is also not on this list. I don't know why.
Okay, let me. Wow, Joyce, I see Joyce. And
Hello.
Joyce, I cannot put you in
Ah,
a room.
But I can put myself in because I did the last time.
Oh, okay, please
Yeah.
put yourself in. The only people who we're having to help are those who have old Zoom
Okay.
Software and can't do it
Okay.
themselves. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Laura.
okay.
Laura, what Grace is going to keep working on that.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you are unable to join another breakout room and you need to go to another breakout room, let me know and I can move you there.
Hi,
Hi, Lisa.
Michelle.
Hi.
Can I go to quick sketch?
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so those of you who are new to this main room here, we've got one more person. Michelle's is, there we go. Yay. Thank you for your patience, everybody. So this is the time management. Grace is going to go pop over into make sure there's no one sitting in time management waiting.
Grace, can I please go to the sketch quickly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. All right, so this is about time management here. Carolyn is still waiting.
May I go to sketching quickly?
Perfect. Let me see if I can put you in. There we go. You should be going. Huh.
Can I go to sketching quickly?
Okay. Grace will be back in just a minute here. Lisa. Did you say sketching?
Yes, please.
Okay, there we go. Okay, let's get started. Time management, for those of you, thank you for your patience. What we're talking about here is people are struggling with finding time to do your practice. Does anyone have any tips they want to share with the group about how you do find time? What do you find works for you? Anyone? No, everyone's still pretty much, no, I don't. Okay, so here's what works for me. And one of the things to get journaling to be a habit is you've got to, forming a habit is an actual physical thing that we can accomplish, but that does mean consistency. It won't become a habit unless it's something you do adopt. Every day is best at first because that's how you form a habit. You can form a habit because, for example, you might always want to watch XYZ, Netflix streaming, right? Outlander or whatever. So we know you can do it. So creating that point in the day, and it works the best for me to make it a, hi everybody, we're just started talking about what works for time management. Is selecting a time. For me, I call it my journaling happy hour, I said earlier. And then just doing that for even if it's only for a short time. every day before I start making dinner, or do it in the morning with my coffee, or find something that you can cut out. What can you cut out? So let's talk about that. What takes you 20 minutes, 30 minutes even, that you could cut out? Watching a television program, being on social media too much. um, let's throw out some ideas. Share with you.
It helps for me to just have a space that's set up in the house. Then I can float by it, and sometimes I float into it because something was drying, or I thought of another thing to add, or and then out of it because it's time to change the laundry or whatever. But by leaving the space up, I live by myself, so I do have that option. Not everybody would have that option, but I've created a space at the end of the dining room table that's kind of behind a chair. When I pull the chair out, you can see it, but it's not real obvious. So if somebody comes and we're sitting in the living room, it's not a focal point. But that seemed to work best for me.
That's a good idea. And someone in the previous group said, always keeping your bag, if your field bag, if you are in a space where you can go outside frequently, always having your bag ready to go. Here's mine. It's always ready. It has my binoculars, my journal, and my pens, room for some water, and I'm good to go. So that I have no excuse not to, like, I don't have to faff around looking for everything and, oh, where did I put this pen? I can't go because I can't find my pens.
I have that too, but we're in the middle of winter with lots of snow, so that wasn't the first thing on my mind.
We've got the corollary when it's 110 degrees in Tucson, going outside is like, ugh, yuck. I could do it at 4:30 in the morning, maybe. What are some other ideas?
Roseanne, for me, a lot of times I can't sit down for 30 minutes. And so I'll just, if I do nothing else, I may do 6 1-minute sketches. And then, or I might just sit down and write down the metadata and maybe write down the birds that I saw that day looking out my window. And that's all I'm committed to. But a lot of times if I just start something, then I'll keep going. But sometimes I don't. That's what I committed to, and that's what I do.
That is a really, really good tip. And that reminds me, if you haven't heard of, so if you're really struggling with I just feel overwhelmed, like I can't figure out, I hate that blank page. I don't want to start it because if I only write 2 things, then I feel like that's a weak entry, like I'm doing bad, which is a horrible thing to think, but we all do that, right? So first of all, be kind to yourself. But one way to get over that, and especially if you're time slammed, is to do the kind of perpetual journal style, which is what I did. I was showing that here. So I just took 2 pages on the journal and I drew 7 squares. So, and this is 1 week. So, whoops, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And just do 1 thing on Monday, 1 thing on Tuesday. Or don't even make it don't even do the squares. Just make this a perpetual, this is 1 week. And maybe you only do 1 thing that week, but do something, But if you just leave it kind of open and just add things as you go for the week, maybe right across the top here, January 1 to 7, or next week, February 21st to 28th, and just don't pressure yourself to do it exactly a certain way. Just add to it frequently throughout the week. But that's how you get a habit. And if you do it so you drop into that zone, what we talk about, the zone, when you really start focusing, that's the nature journaling aspect. If you are doing it in your house or on a computer, you're probably not going to get into the zone as much, because when I'm outside, even just on my porch, and I'm paying attention to the birdies or the bunny that's about to nest, and I'm really paying attention, everything else drops away. So what that does is that's like you're meditating, it's a dopamine thing, you get happy, and that reinforces your habit because it's fun. And all of a sudden you'll realize, oh crap, I forgot to make dinner. It's like, whoops. But if you have kids, that's probably not going to happen. But, husbands, sorry, yeah. So any other ideas? And then we probably need to.
I usually try to keep some backup ideas in my head for days when I don't feel inspired by something particular. So I might pick up a leaf that I found and set it aside, or have a plant in mind that's in my house that is really accessible. So if I don't feel inspired by something that's right there, I don't have to sit and try and come up with an idea.
That's a really good point too, is if you are really slammed for time and feeling like you're too overwhelmed with life, and then you're like, I'm forcing myself to nature journal, maybe just picking one tree or one potted plant in your house, and just write about that. I go outside and I look at one tree and I say, oh, there's a verdin in the tree. I noticed that there's also some ants climbing up the thing, and I might just stare at this tree or walk around it for 5 minutes and write everything that I see. And if the next day it's the same thing, write it down. Make it a habit. It's okay. In fact, that's data, right? If you go to the same tree and you're seeing ants all the time and a verdin all the time, well, hey, guess what? You just learned that verdin likes that Texas ebony tree. And it's probably going to nest in it. So don't worry about always, oh, I know what, the one thing I really wanted to say, it doesn't always have to be amazing. Celebrate the little boring things. Journal a plant in a pot.
I'm thinking even just one item has all different sides.
Exactly.
So you could even just do a different side, a different angle, top, bottom, whatever, every day for a week or something, and really study that one.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think if you guys, you ready to move to another group? Because I want to make sure you get a chance at 3 discussions. So why don't we swap? Grace, how are we doing on time on that? We're going to go a little over because of our snafu with the breakouts.
Doing good.
This is Phyllis. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd like to go to room number 2.
All right. Grace will say she's done when she's ready.
Yeah, so if you're actually able to join the breakout room yourself, that would be great if you could just do it yourself. But if you can't, let me know and I will move you.
And I forgot to remind people not to go into the time management.
I would like to be moved to paralysis by analysis.
There we go. Okay. I'm monitoring the time management one, Grace, and if I see someone join it, I'm moving them back to the main. Okay. Everybody's like, boom, like getting zoomed over. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Okay.
So I didn't update my Zoom, so I can't join myself. This is Phyllis Copt, and I'd
You
like
still
to go
can't
to
join?
Yeah.
Where would you like paralysis by analysis? Okay.
All right. I'm still struggling with people not, Grace will have to. All right. Main session. Okay. Kathy. One more. Okay. So this is the main room. This is the time management room now, since I can't enter the time management room. And I'm sorry. Can you guys hear that saw? Can you hear the noise in my space? I'm sorry. We're having a wall built, and I asked the guys to be quiet between 10 and 11, and it didn't work. Oh, well.
Okay, anyone else need to be moved to a different room?
I'm thinking Lucan is lost in the room where no one is, if you want to check on her.
Who is?
Lucan, L-U-T-K-E-N.
No, she,
no.
I'm in the main room.
Here you are. Yeah, she's there.
Oh, good. Never mind. She made it.
Okay. All right, everybody. So this is the time management one. We're running a little over. Sorry about that. We had some great discussions in the other folks who in our previous two, and a couple of things, highlights I wanted to kind of share about some good tips. One is always having your field bag and notebook ready to go. So there's no excuse trying like, I can't find my pens, I can't journal. So always having that ready to go. Mine's always ready to go with my binoculars, pen, notebook, and some water, always ready. Let's see, sorry, I just got a note. Grace, can you help Melanie Helton, please?
Yes.
Okay, so that was one tip. Another is someone said, well, because it's deep winter where they are, she sets up and leaves her journal like at the edge of a dining room table, so it's always out. And what we want to talk about here are tips for if you're having trouble just finding the time to journal. What worked for me and making it a habit. So those are two things that go together really, really importantly. It's not going to be a habit unless you do it frequently, and especially when you're first starting out. That's actually the most important time to do it really frequently. And the reason is it won't become a habit without repetition. And you know, I might go every 2, 3, 4 days and not be journaling, but I've been doing this a really long time. So I'm not going to lose my habit anymore. It's part of me. So who wants to share an idea that works for you with time management? Does anyone have anything they want to share?
I'm sorry, Grace, could you please put me in a different group? I've been in this one and the quick sketching. So wherever.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone have a tip to share or a particular frustration you can't get over regarding time?
I tried something. I'm not on Faceplant by design because I never get anything done, but I do post on my own blog. And what I did was set up what I called a Swatch This challenge for myself. So I've taken every granulating watercolor one at a time for 54 days now. And when I test that particular color, but how I do it is I just take my phone and all 16,000 photos and play like Russian roulette and spin until I get a picture that's that color. And then I have to paint that. And I only give myself the one color plus something on my palette in about 10 minutes. And so for 54 days, I've developed a habit now. So.
And how hard was it when you were first doing that to do it every day? What did you have to do? Because we all think we can do it, and then we find out, oh, it's so hard.
It really is hard, and I'm up till 2 in the morning because I have so much on my plate. So it's just one more thing, but I've forced myself to do it mostly by the blog post. I've committed to that, and then I put it on Instagram that I did it.
Okay,
so now I have to do it in my head. I have to do it.
Okay, so for people who don't have a blog or that, and you're just like, I'm really bad at making commitments, right? I'll say I'm going to do it, and I might do it for a while, and then I'll peter off, because yeah, life gets super busy right now, especially those of you who are homeschooling kids and everything. So I think that one tip is if you're having trouble struggling with it, choose one time and set an alarm, put it in a calendar, and even if it's just to do 5 minutes. But if you're just starting out and you're really struggling, it's really important to form the habit by doing it regularly. Even if it's just, like I said, to just write, I showed you just writing in the journal. If another tip would be, if you haven't heard what a perpetual journal is, it's kind of it's hard to picture that, but basically, here I drew one way you might do that is, this is just 2 pages in my journal, and I drew 7 squares. And then what this is, it represents a week of time, could be any 7 days. And I might write that on the top. And then just on Monday, one thing, even if I just write, I don't sketch, but you might want to just do a little stick figure or whatever. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's your habit. Don't forget to write in a little metadata too. You know how important that is. Nature journaling, we're not talking about art journaling here. So because it's nature, you want to write down, what it is you saw. So don't forget where you saw it, what it was doing, something to make it relevant to the natural world. Even if it's driving to work, if you're lucky enough to be in a place where you're not still in lockdown, or looking out one window, might see what hummingbird is there right now out my window. I might put that down. So giving yourself permission and carving out these frameworks. So give yourself a framework to fit in. If you're struggling, make a framework that works for you, and give yourself permission to not be, it doesn't have to be amazing. Every time you journal does not have to look like, let me show you, and it doesn't have to look like this, right? That took me an hour or 2 being out there the whole time. That's a significant part of a day. It doesn't have to look like that. It can look like, just very simple, just writing or just lists. This took me, I want to say 30 minutes, because I was doing the Great Backyard Bird Count. So I just went and sat for 30 minutes. And all I did was write the list. And then I did the quick sketch because I wanted to. But I didn't have to, right? So every page doesn't have to be a masterpiece. I think we should throw that out. Sheila.
I actually have been doing an everyday journal in my own backyard, what I have in my backyard. And I don't sit there for a long time. I just record everything I see throughout the day. So I get up in the morning, I write down my metadata, whatever we call it, record what I see or what I hear, what I heard during the night, the owls or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then as I'm going through my day, and I look out the window or whatever, and I see, oh, wow, there's some deer walking by, or there's a butterfly now, or some of the flowers are open. And then I just record a little at a time. So my journal isn't any consistent like hours work or anything. It's just a little here and there. So maybe that'd work for other people too.
We could call that the dribble effect, right? You dribble a little bit into your journal. And feel free to, make your own little notebook, keep it with you, or just cut pages the size that works for you, staple them. And then you can actually take them apart and paste them directly into your journal later, or transcribe them. I often take just a small page and we'll paste it in, because all I had with me was a little journal. So again, give yourself permission to do things differently. And that it's not about these perfect, amazing pages with perfect calligraphy. And if that makes you happy, great, but realize you're gonna need a ton of time to do those. Those don't happen sitting for even 30 minutes. I gave up on the calligraphy thing long ago. I started to try to do the beautiful lettering, and it was making me crazy. So what did I do? I gave myself permission to write sloppy. I don't need those. I don't want them. They make me unhappy because I'm actually a fairly impatient person. That's okay. I can admire the people who do it, but I'm not measuring myself. So I think let's bring everybody back together now and kind of do a wrap up. I should have made this 2 hours. I'm sorry. Look, I'm learning. Next time we'll do it again. And I want everybody to come back and we're going to see what strategies worked, but and we'll make it 2 hours. This was just a completely new format for me. So, okay, let's see. Message all rooms. All right, let's see if that works. Grace might have to go do sweep.
I can just close all the rooms and it'll bring everyone back in the next meeting.
That brings them back, okay, because I'd be afraid it would be like, kick them off.
No.
That would be awful. Okay, awesome. I see, okay. Okay, well, Grace, we need to do some research as why the host who started the meeting can't join her own breakout rooms. That was stupid.
That's weird. You must have some setting because I've seen hosts join breakout rooms.
Yep, that's you can help me.
It would be helpful. It would be helpful too if you gave instructions on how to enter and find new rooms. I had no idea. I think.
Yeah, you know, but it's different for
I've never done that before.
Interface is different, unfortunately, depending on what. The 4 different ways you can be viewing it, and we don't know what your way of viewing it is. So it's either at the bottom for some interfaces, or at the top or the side for some. We'll get better at it, but
those were really enjoyable.
The breakout rooms worked.
Yes, yes, very nice to talk freely with others
and do that. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's some great kind of takeaways, some good hints. Heather and Janet, I'm going to pin us real quick here. Of course, I need to find everybody, so give me just a second. I've got Heather, there you are. And then Janet, if you can wave your hand, there you are. And oops, I need you to do that one more time because I have to swap between gallery view. There you are. Okay, perfect. Can Heather and Janet, can you share, maybe Janet, you start, you're unmuted. Just a couple of takeaways from your sessions of what came distilled up as some of the best ways.
Right. So our group was focusing on how to get started with sketching. And we had, a number of strategies. I'll just read out a few notes that I made. Start small. We liked your idea of maybe creating small boxes on the page so that you could say, well, I'm not going to draw this entire landscape, but I'm going to pick 3 things that have caught my eye. Using a scratch pad or kind of having some throwaway type paper to, especially for something complicated that you're too intimidated about putting in your journal right away, so you can kind of play with it first. And then we had another suggestion of doing that kind of thing and then incorporating those, either attaching them, gluing, pasting. I suggested, envelopes where you can then add in, small items like that. So, if you, have, and, having odd sizes and odd pieces of paper that you can then incorporate, either attaching or binding them into a different
That's
journal.
a great, thank you for that reminder. And just show you real quick, guys might want to try this. I always keep an envelope in the front of my journal, and there are envelopes in my envelope. I save plastic things that things come in, so I can attach them to my journal, or envelopes, just glassine envelopes. Thank you for that reminder. Great idea.
Picking and just a couple more. So tracing, like say leaves, or flattening out items and tracing them, as a way to kind of get started. And then I also suggested collage. So using, especially if you're traveling, you might pick up maps or brochures, or the national park newsletters and things like that, so you can incorporate those, and that might be a good springboard, especially if you're just
struggling with adding sketching and color. That can help springboard. Good idea. Yeah, great. Heather, how about your groups?
So we were kind of talking about how to deal with judging yourself, and how to be kind of gentle with yourself. So some of the things that we talked about were, one, when you look at social media, especially like the Nature Growing Facebook page, a lot of those people are, if you see something that's beautiful, they might be professional artists. And so what you're looking at, wouldn't be, it's the result of years of practice. So one of the things to do to deal with that is to feel like an artist. So figure out what you like about that and try and incorporate that into your own work. One of the other things that we talked about is people have said that they draw a lot of things and they may get one thing right and 5 things wrong. And so some of the things that we said was, once it's wrong, you can't make it any worse. So you might as well learn from it and figure out what's not working, or do what you can to it's a growth experience. And so if you really don't like it, it was like the example I said before, you can take a picture and paste it over there, or tape that journal page shut. So when you're flipping through, you just flip right past it. Let's see some of the other things. In terms of the judgment, some people just had trouble with the blank page. What do I write? What do I do? So some of the things were, your journal is an expression of you, so it's really only for you. So if you're trying to come up with things to say, what is meaningful to you, and what would you want to know when you look at this page? So you're in the park, what are you taking away from that? And how are you putting yourself, in the reflection? I think, and the one last, but it's kind of important. If something isn't working, is it a problem with the tool? If your page is, if the pen's not working well on it, then is there some way that you can look at the tools? Because sometimes it's not you, it's, maybe your brush isn't right, or maybe, so that, that's the basic.
That's a good point. Many times when I'm talking with folks who are frustrated, especially starting watercolor, I'll find out that they bought really, really cheap watercolor and are really disappointed in how it looks. And that's because it's cheap watercolor. So that's why I kind of developed this idea of doing it a little differently, with only a few paints, but make them expensive, good paint, so that your colors are beautiful. And that makes you more happy than those chalky, awful, cheap, Michael's $1.99 paints. So definitely great ideas. So, thank you everyone for persevering. Thank you, Heather and Janet, for running the rooms, and we will figure out why I wasn't able to join my own room. We do know, Zoom we have some Zoom learning curves, and it's different for every computer, tablet, or phone. It's very difficult to know exactly how it works on everybody's, and yeah, sorry about that. But we will figure it out and do better next time. And thank you very much. I will distill more of this and put up a tutorial website, and the recording, even though the breakout rooms are not recorded, that's just not something Zoom can do. So we will distill things down, and I'll put some more tips and ideas on the tutorial page and share that with you. And thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Any last thoughts anyone want to share before we end? Just keep at it. Make it a habit. Work on that if you're struggling. And by all means, please email if you're really struggling. I'm happy to talk. Email, we'll grab a phone call, whatever. We'll figure it out, because I'm here to help, and here to help people succeed in what they do, and always happy to talk with people who are struggling and figure out solutions. So
I love your workshops, but I think this kind of breakout once in a while is real refreshing, because we're able to discuss what we're doing a little bit and get ideas from others on techniques and things.
Great. I will incorporate that now that we can do it. Well, first I have to figure out how to work it, right? So thank you. All right.
Roseanne, I think you're completely inspiring, because you don't, like, if I look in Jack's book I have here, it came in the post here to Ireland.
Great book.
And everything is fabulous, but everything is so perfect.
Well,
everything is so perfect.
Jack does that for a living too, right? So, I mean, he makes nature guidebooks. But it is intimidating, right? You look at that and you think, why don't I sketch like that right off the bat? And
you see some things you say, I could probably try that. But,
one of the things I do notice is beginners will often pick something way too complicated to start out with, and then you're sort of dooming yourself to not like it. That's why I ask people, like, start drawing leaves, something that doesn't fly away, something that that you can hold right there. A really complicated flower is going to be really tough to draw. So pick things that fall within your ability. Definitely, that's a tip. I can't. Start small.
What was that book?
That was John Muir Laws. I'll put it in the the guide to law. Thank you. Law's Guide to Nature Drawing and Journaling. You can buy that on johnmuirlaws.com. And Jack is the teacher. Many of us here. He's been our mentor, and fabulous. And one of the reasons.
Roseanne? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just want to say, I hope everybody knows about the Wild Wonder Conference, because it was the best thing of the whole pandemic year. It was way better than the elections.
So good. Yes. If you don't know about it, and we're doing another online Wild Wonder in June, toward the end of June. I don't have the exact dates. I want to say it's like the 24th through the weekend. It's all online. There's something like we do.
Brilliant.
Yeah, 5 days straight, something every hour, nothing overlaps, so you can just go crazy, and it's really inexpensive. It's like
really,
yeah, we're gonna the base price is gonna be $75 again, around $75 for everything. So we like to keep it.
You also have a book. You also have a nature journal book, Roseanne.
Yes.
What is it?
Thank you, Joyce. You're so sweet. Yes, the Nature Journaling for a Wildlife I'd actually developed because I was overwhelmed by Jack's book because there was so much in it. My book basically breaks down an 8-week course. So in 8 weeks, I'll walk you through the basics that you need to get going. And then you go to Jack's book and use that for your like keeping going, right? So
Right.
exploringoverland.com is my website. And I'll be sending you all kind of a follow-up email with a bunch of info. So we really appreciate that.
I have a question. So I had a look at that. I'm just curious, there's some extra reference pages. And do they include like your lists of clouds and, the things that you had shown at one of your workshops, those kind of information sheets? What sort of information sheets is in your book? Yeah.
In the book, there's some ideas for the metadata, but I also then will direct you, because I update them a little more frequently online. There are on my website are free printable, downloadable, like all the weather symbols, all the cloud symbols, ideas for creating your own cloud cheat sheet, which is kind of fun, which will help you learn it, because what I did was I drew my own sky and then put all the different clouds. It made me have to learn how to paint the clouds, which are kind of hard to do. And then I labeled them with the little
Okay, perfect.
Which is fun. And that's on my website. I'll put that in the email I send out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so exploringoverland.com/field arts. And you could find all the resources there. Great. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Joyce, for your reminding folks about the book. Thank you. And
thank you.
Phil, Marcia put the link to the Wild Wonder Conference in the chat too. So johnmuirlaws.com/Wild Wonder. All right, everyone. Thank you for staying over a little bit.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna sign off now.
Bye.